Welcome back to the channel, friends. And today I wanted to make a video going over the complicated nature of peptides and side effects. So with peptides getting huge in kind of the mainstream, there is a lot of people who I think misunderstand the side effect profile of peptides, and peptides specifically have a very unique side effect profile. A lot of them do. I don't want to speak too broadly in this video because their side effect profile can be a bit confusing for some people. And in this video, I want to explain why their side effect profile can be confusing. What are some of the kind of key side effects with peptides? And, are there any strategies that we can take to help to deal with these side effects? So with that being said, guys, let's dive right in. Now, peptides are taking over the fitness, biohacking, longevity world. 2025 is kind of the year of peptides where they kind of hit into the mainstream. And with that, there's been a lot of peptide educators. There's been a lot of people making content on peptides. And one of the things that I see does not get enough attention or does not get talked about enough is kind of the complicated nature of peptides and their side effect profiles. Now, peptides and their side effect profiles are complicated because unlike other pharmacology that people implement, it can be very subtle, right? So if you take a very powerful stimulant, essentially what happens is, you get the raise in blood pressure, you may get an increase in body temperature, you are like, wow, my heart feels like it's beating out of my chest. It's very in your face, right? Same thing with, androgens, right? High dose androgens, the side effects can be very visible, right? You get gyno, you get, your blood work looks terrible, you start to lose your hair. It's very in your face. Now, peptides are interesting and they're a bit tricky because the side effects are not very in your face, and also the side effects don't always show up on blood work. Now, I want to point out a few key examples here. So number one is going to be a lot of these healing peptides like BPC-157, TB500. A lot of these promote a process known as angiogenesis, right? Which angiogenesis is essentially the creation of new blood vessels, which is great for healing, great for recovery. It's a very essential biological process. But what people don't understand is that it's also a very essential process in cancer cells. And so with that being said, something like BPC 157 is never going to cause cancer directly from the data that we have. But what it could do is it could theoretically speed up the rate that, existing cancer cells grow, because a lot of them rely on angiogenesis for their, for their survival, right? It's a very important feature, not only in our own biology, but unfortunately in cancer cell biology. The second one, melanotan 2, that's one where, again, there's been a lot of mixed reports, but some people get weird looking moles while on it. And that's something that not everyone knows to look for, right? Not everyone understands the ABCDEs of skin cancer, right? Some people, their blood work looks good, they're tan, they feel great, and they don't even understand that, hey, I have this weird looking mole on my back that melanotan 2 grew. Most of them are very benign and are not problematic, but still, again, it's one of those things where a lot of people don't even think to check these things, and they just kind of use the peptides, or even IGFLR3 and all the hyperplasia that it creates, and all the creation of new cells, which again, a lot of cell division can be problematic. Okay, so there is a lot of sneaky side effects. Another one too, epitalin or epithalin, right? It's extending the length of telomeres, which is very good for some things, but also can be problematic because you could be extending the length of potentially damaged or senescent cells, and you could be stopping essentially their process of dying out, which they should be doing, right? So there's also that, where a lot of these anti-aging peptides are kind of potentially keeping cells that maybe should be dying off and keeping them alive. So there's a lot of these very kind of niche, very backdoor theoretical side effects with these peptides, okay? And the goal of this video is I really just want you guys to be aware. And the key with understanding peptide side effects is to understand it from a biological level first, because with a lot of these, we don't have a lot of pharmacological data on them. We don't have a lot of medical literature on them. But what we can do is we can kind of, say, okay, I understand biology and I understand that this process is involved in this. And if I massively upregulate this process, it's good for this, this, and this, but also this is going to happen, and that could be problematic. So that is why the kind of peptide side effect profile can be very, very tricky. Because again, if you're inducing high levels of angiogenesis, it might not be problematic on your blood work. You might not feel it, but it could be causing some sort of downstream, some other issues downstream. Or same with the epitalin, I gave that example. And so there's a lot of these peptides that have these kind of very unique mechanisms of action. And same with the bioregulators, there is a lot of them that have these mechanisms of actions that, may prevent certain cell death, which could be problematic because, again, if the cell is senescent or if it needs to die out, could be preserving the lifespan of cells that need to go. And again, is also other complex downstream side effects. Even take a peptide like dihexa and the hepatocyte growth factor. The hepatocyte growth factor is so powerful, people think that it could potentially increase the rate at which brain cancer cells grow. Now, the key is a lot of these peptides, have these potential side effects. Now, I will be fully honest here, okay? A lot of these are theoretical, but in my experience, I like to always play it better safe than sorry, and I think while a lot of these peptides are not going to induce side effects in potentially healthy individuals with no previous issues, some individuals with certain, medical histories or certain family histories of diseases should be very cautious when implementing these peptides, and they should make sure that they're understanding the biological implications of driving up some of these processes in the body, especially when we don't have a great grasp on how some of them work. Now, a lot of these processes and a lot of these theories, even the ones that I'm spouting out now, are very gray area. They're very niche. There's unfortunately not a very, good clickbaity thing like BPC-157 causes cancer. A lot of them are theories. And again, my goal with this video is just to make you aware, right? If you are someone who is getting into the peptide space, a lot of these peptides and a lot of people are going to tell you that they have virtually no side effects. They're perfectly safe, and you're going to pull your blood work, and your blood work might look great. But again, you want to look deeper than just your blood work. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably a little confused. You're probably like, Brandon, you use a ton of peptides yourself. You use a lot of the ones that you just mentioned could be problematic. And the answer is of course I do. I do use a lot of these peptides myself. And for myself, my goal is to, number one, I try to never overuse a compound that has limited medical data, right? I try to get it in and out of my body because a lot of these things I theorize too come down to exposure, and you want to keep your exposure limited and strategic. That's why I don't sit on BPC-157 and TB500 potentially year round, because I don't want to have angiogenesis, upregulated all year round. I think that could be potentially problematic. The other thing that I like to do with a lot of these peptide protocols, especially with certain bioregulators, is I like to do senescent cell protocols. Now, senescent cell protocols are protocols designed to help to kind of clear out senescent cells and damaged cells and promote autophagy in the body. And one of the best peptides that can do this, which by the way we have very limited data on, is the FOXO. It's the FOXO4 DRI. I think I'm saying that correctly. But I like to really do these senescent cell protocols because, again, a lot of these peptides and peptide bioregulators, they interact with certain processes in the body that are going to turn off certain cell death factors that are in our body for a very specific reason. So again, those are kind of my two strategies. And the reality is a lot of these peptides have been used for the past few decades with really no major side effect profiles to report on. I know that's not very scientific, but the reality is we haven't seen any crazy rise in incidences of cancer or things like that. But I will say, guys, make sure you exercise caution. Make sure you understand these peptides in the biological process that they impact, and make sure you kind of understand the fact that with peptides and with using peptides, there is oftentimes deeper potential side effects that you need to be aware of that go past just your blood work, your blood pressure, your blood glucose, and kind of how you feel. So that being said, guys, I hope this video was helpful. Again, I don't want to fearmonger peptides at all. I want to point out that the ideas expressed in this video are very theoretical. But with that being said, guys, thank you, take care, and have a good one.